Okay, so I think it's time for another real estate story. It's been a hot minute since I've posted one of these, so let's get into it. Several years ago, I had this amazing couple, and I'm just going to say their names because I think she would appreciate it, and I think that she's going to appreciate listening to this. But I had this amazing friend several years ago. Her name was Beth, and Beth was going through some life changes, and she had settled into a rental property, and then she found the love of her life, married him, and he's a cool dude. Um, and they decided they needed to buy a house. Now, she married Luke. Luke is, first of all, he's from Mississippi. He, like, good old boy. And I'm talking about, like, salt of the earth, good old boy. He could go out there and rope a horse, but then if you're sitting on the side of the road broke down, he's going to stop and do everything he can to help you. And a God loving man. Like, just, they're great people. So Beth and Luke decide that they need to buy a house, but see, Luke has a problem with buying horses, so they had to have somewhere that they could put Luke's horses. So we found them a property, and it was very hard to find a property that fit all their needs because Luke probably also has an addiction, and I think he's going to laugh when he sees this, but he has an addiction to buying horses, or anything with four legs. So we had to really shuffle and scramble hard, and everything that we found was like over 5 acres. And we're working with a certain budget, and so we got really creative. We found the coolest house with the coolest roping arena, like plenty of land. But what we did is we bought the house and 5 acres instead of the house and 10 acres. So in that transaction, we found them a home. Um, Beth dodged a bullet, and she almost acquired about 1,000 Barbie dolls, but the seller decided she needed to take those with them, and they purchased a ranch. So over the years, I've gone out, I've taken the kids to ride horses out there. Beth and I have stayed very dear friends, very close friends. She's helped me with school issues when it comes to kiddos. She's prayed for me, I've prayed for them. We've just become really good friends, right? So I get a phone call a couple months ago, and Beth and Luke had these goals set in place when they decided to buy this property several years ago, but their end goal wasn't always Midland. And I knew that, they knew that, but they needed a landing ground for right now, and a place to, let's just say, start their homestead. And so over the years, like I said, Beth's relationship, my relationship, and my relationship with Luke, we've all just become really good friends. They're just great people. So I get the phone call. No, actually, I ran into Beth at church. We were visiting a church, and I ran into Beth at church, and she said, Amanda, it's time. We're ready to move. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we got their house on the market. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here, but we got their house on the market. And it sat there for a little bit. It was a unique property, and we knew, and when I say unique, not in a bad way, it was just so much land and so much sweat equity had been put into the land to keep it updated, and fencing, and more farm loft type scenarios. And so it took us a little bit to get a buyer. And once we found the buyer, I think all of us were just praying over that house, saying, God, send the right buyer to this property, because we want somebody who's going to love it and appreciate it like Beth and Luke did. And if you knew the sellers before Beth and Luke, how much they loved and appreciated that property as well. So we were just praying over the house, making sure like it got into good hands and everything. So negotiations came, we got through negotiations, repairs came, we got through repairs, the standard like real estate stuff. And at the end, we get to closing, and I hadn't really found myself super emotional through the deal. But at the end, we get to closing, and Beth hands me a thank you gift. And in this thank you gift was something that I was not expecting. And Beth got me a new lockbox. So let me tell you why this is so funny and made me cry a little, because I'm just going to miss Beth and Luke so much. But every time I would go visit Beth and Luke, this is what I have put on the property after well, not this one, obviously, because they probably stole my other one, but we won't tell anybody. But this is what I put on the property after closing when they first initially bought the house several years ago, so that when they were ready to actually start moving in, they could just open it up, pull the key out, get ready to go. And so every time I would visit, I would see one of these lock boxes hanging on their front porch. And I would go and I'd flip it over, and I was looking for my little ABD on the back of it, and, ADB, and is that my box? Is that number? Did I put a sticker on that? Oh, she stole my box. I better take my box back. So we've been going back and forth for several years over these lock boxes. And I think deep down inside, I knew that it wasn't my lockbox, but it was still the principle that I got to pick on them over this lockbox. And so when Beth gave me this lockbox, I almost cried in front of her because it was the end of an era. It was an end of me having a reason to send her a text. Hey, do you still steal my lockbox? Do you still have my lockbox? And the full circle hit me, and I put them in that property. I got them out of that property. They have met so many goals of theirs financially, when it comes to family, when it comes to getting close to God, when it comes to what morals they want to raise their kids in and how they want to raise their kids. And anyways, it was just such a cool story. So Beth, thank you for never stealing my lockbox, even though I accused you of it. Luke, thank you for trusting me with the sale of your house, and knowing that we have the right buyers in your house, and praying over your house. So anyways, thanks for my new lockbox, even though I truly deeply know that the one that you guys have is probably my old one.